Jay here for Scotty and Motty. That is Scotty. Were you on your phone then?
I was on my phone. Professional till the end.
Professional. We are super professional. We are live, so get involved in the chat and the comments. We're going to be talking about the sack race, because it's on in it. Not just for Steven Gerrard.
Have you ever done the sack race?
Truss already can be.
Have you ever done the sack race?
The sack race.
Because you didn't you do parents?
The dad race.
Sports
Sports.
day.
Have you not done the dad race at sports day?
No.
Oh, it's horrible. Horrible. I hate it. I genuinely hate it. And I got we didn't have a sports day at me son and my daughters both. At one point, they all went to the same school. My eldest has now gone to high school. But we went there this year for the first time in 3 years, I think it was, because of COVID and also rain. So it rained off last year. I was like doing a rain dance the night before because I was like, please God, let it rain. And if there's any rain the night before, then they cancel it. So they cancelled it, and they went, right, we're going to do it in September. So I went, and I've done the dad's race twice. The first time my hamstring went halfway down the track. So I had to keep running because I couldn't stop in front of the kids. But I had to run like a really weird sort of, like, I don't even know what you can call it. It's like, you know, like, remember that runner, Michael Johnson, when he used to run like that? It was like that. And I think everyone was looking at me. I remember my missus like, why are you running like that? I was like, my hamstring went, and I couldn't stop. And then last time, I've done it 3 times. The second time wasn't too bad because there was like 2 groups because there was too many of us. So I just looked around and saw the older group. I think some of them might have been the granddads, to be honest with you, and joined that. So I came 3rd or whatever. And then this one, a couple of weeks ago, I was chatting to, I don't know, his son's in my son's class. Kieran, his name is. He was like, oh, you know what? He's a big lad. He's like, oh, I've got a problem with meniscus or whatever it's called. He said, I'm going to be goose. So I thought, all right, I'll be all right here. I'll be safe because you're knackered and so am I. And he was like lightning. And then thankfully someone fell over, so I didn't come last. But
did you not try and stop and help them?
No, God, no. And I was too busy kicking him.
Yeah.
Like, you can stay down there. There you go. Sorted. I've
think
come 5th out of 6.
That's what you got to do, man.
It's horrible, though. The pressure's on you. Do you know what I mean? Like, my missus didn't want to do it because the missus done it in the past, but she didn't do it this time. My daughter was giving loads of grief, and she's like, I'm not doing it. But last time they did it, the women had to do it on space hoppers.
Space hoppers?
Yeah. That was the mum's race was on space hoppers.
Was there some sort of seedy reason behind that?
I don't know. It's weird.
It seemed a little bit...
It seems a bit like,
gravity.
Right, okay, the men are going to do a normal run, and the women are going to run on bounce on space hoppers.
It sounds like there's a bit of a pervert.
I wasn't there for that one. I might have had a word with the caretaker.
Yeah,
like, I don't think so, sunshine. You know what I mean? You can forget this nonsense.
What do you mean you're spraying them as well as you bounce past you?
But do you know what made me laugh? It was like, my missus came 2nd, and then this woman won. And my mother-in-law was like, I think that woman who won was that one that used to be in the Olympics, Diane Modal. I was like, it wasn't. No, it isn't. Just someone who's pretty quick. Well, yeah. How have you managed to swerve it? Because you're a very hands-on dad. How have you not done the dad's race?
They don't do it.
Do they not?
No, it's just all about the kids.
Right touch, so, honestly.
I'd love to do it, to be honest.
You?
Yeah, proper competitive.
Are you at your kids' school? Are you like the average age of dads, or are you a bit older? Because I'm an old dad compared to the others.
No, I think probably about an average age.
Because most of when I go to the dad's race, it's like full of 20-year-olds. Not 20-odd-year-olds, like 30-year-olds. So I've got a good 10 years on most.
Although I don't think that people age very well around the area where the kids go to school.
All right.
So it's a bit difficult to tell.
Exactly.
And I look quite...
They might be like...
They're probably 20, but they're smoking since they were 4.
And the stress of having lots of
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
And, you know, austerity or whatever. It's one of them. But no, my kids are, you know, they get involved in all the sports then. It's always that. Because I always feel a bit bad because you see the kids that just start crying, don't they?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you get them competitive mums and dads who are shouting at him. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't want to be that guy. But no, it's a minefield sports day. Yeah, we're going to talk about Steven Gerrard in a bit. He looks like he could be getting sacked. Liz Truss as well. We were just talking before we went on air. I mean, me and you've wear our hearts on our sleeves. We're not exactly card-carrying members of the Conservative Party. But even by their standards, this is unreal, isn't it? This is like, I think this is the most disastrous start to being Prime Minister anyone's ever had.
Are you surprised, though?
I'm surprised how bad it has been, yeah.
Really?
I mean, I didn't take much of an interest, and I should have done, in the leadership race. Normally I watch debates, and I was watching like who was it? Was it Val Demings versus Marco Rubio the other day on the Florida Senate race or whatever it was? I might have got some names wrong there, but you know what I mean. I watch all sorts of debates, and with Sunak versus Truss, I just lost interest straight away.
He seems to go on for ages.
Yeah, I just thought he's both just chatting rubbish. I can't be bothered. Bore off. So I didn't take as much of an interest. But when I saw she was winning, I thought it's just going to be more of the same. And it wasn't, was it? It was like Kwasi Kwarteng came in for a week. Was it even a week?
No, I don't.
Was it about 4 days?
Yeah, it was
4 days. Tank the markets, as they say, which is a new thing. Tanking the markets with his mini budget. It wasn't even a proper budget. It was mini budget. Nearly wrecked the economy. And then he got sacked. And then Jeremy Hunt's coming. And it's like, with Jeremy Hunt, it feels like the sort of, and I know I'm not a fan of his, but it's almost like Liz Truss now is just like being held hostage. Saw her the other day when he was making his announcement. It was like he was saying, forget everything she said. She don't know what she's on about. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah, he felt a little bit like he was thrown under the bus.
Yeah, felt like the grown-ups have come in to take over from the kids. And I'm not saying Jeremy Hunt's the answer to our problems by any stretch, but it did feel a bit like, what is going on here? How has this happened in like, how long's she been in the job? About 3 weeks?
Well, I mean, does this not like echo the problem that many people had with the new Prime Minister coming in and the way they went about it? That the Conservative parties voted her in, like the general public hasn't had any say at all who the next prime minister is going to be. So whilst Truss might be responsible for some of the decisions that she's made, I don't think it's all down to her. Obviously, the Conservative Party felt. Is that not quite the indictment if she's doing such a bad job that she was the one? She was the best. And she was the best.
The best one we've got is one that's going to tank the markets and send the economy into a meltdown.
How bad would Rishi Sunak actually have been? That's the question I want to know.
Yeah, and if he came second to her. It's weird, though, isn't it? Because, I mean, you're right. It is a little bit sort of annoying that, 30,000 Conservative members or whatever have voted someone in to lead millions of us. But I feel like when Labour moan about that, and, I understand why they do, but they sorted it that with Gordon Brown and Tony Blair. And I like Gordon Brown more than I like Tony Blair. But there was no election with Gordon Brown, was it, until he lost?
No.
It was, and it wasn't. It was like he was anointed, really, wasn't he? Blair after 10 years, or whatever
it's
it was.
so flawed. I think
you can take over now. Like that's supposedly they didn't have a deal, but it looked like they did.
Yeah.
So I get it why people just going, well, that's just what they do, innit?
Yeah.
But like with the Tories, we've had, is it 2 prime ministers? No, Johnson won an election, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did Theresa May win an election?
No, not yet. No, yeah, she did. She was at the hung parliament, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just been madness.
And before that, wasn't David Cameron with
There was Cameron with the coalition, wasn't there? Then he won outright on his own, but he did a referendum, didn't he? That he lost because he wanted us to stay in the EU. So he quit. Then May won a Tory leadership contest. Then she went to she did the general election and she thought that she was going to wipe out Labour and Corbyn, but they actually had a hung parliament. So then there was another
coalition.
Tory. There was what? Oh, there's a coalition with the DUP. Thank you, James Young. So the coalition with them, DUP, who just seemed like the worst people on the planet. Then after that, there was it a leadership race with Johnson?
Yes.
Came in.
And then he nearly got the whole thing around him suspending Parliament happened.
Yeah, proroguing or whatever you call it. And then we had a general election where he won by about 80 seats, didn't he? So you think, all right, then, I mean, I can't stand Boris Johnson, but you think, right, all right, well, at least we know what's going on now. Yeah. We've got a government that's not in bed with each other, with another party or whatever. And then he started sticking up for perverts or whatever it was. And everyone turned against him, which, you think it's no great loss because I don't really like the guy. And now we're in this mess.
Yeah.
And she looks like after a week, she's already... Bob Bates says, technically Brown didn't lose, he just didn't win. Ryan Belmont says, having Tories vote for Tories was always going to give us the worst Tories. T2 the Izzo says, would you take Liz Truss getting sacked if they gave it back to Boris?
That's a difficult question, isn't it?
Do you think Boris is worse than Truss? I mean, they're both shite, but who's the shiter?
I don't know. Well, I think she's made a lot of mistakes in the short period of time, but I think if you look at the errors that Johnson made over, his duration in charge, I'd probably say Johnson's... I don't think there's been enough trust.
There's not been enough trust yet.
Not enough trust.
There's not been a big enough sample size.
Yeah, you need a larger sample. Yeah,
she is.
Although she's made more U-turns than a lost sheep.
I know. There was a tweet. I think, from Beth Rigby, just before we went live, that said, breaking, William Ragg becomes the 6th Conservative MP who says the PM must go.
He's local, isn't he? He's Hazel Grove, isn't he, Willie?
Oh,
Ragg?
is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that, eh? So it looks like, I mean, there's all talk of him, letters going in at Graham Brady, rules being changed, she could be gone by Christmas, all this stuff. She's just done PMQs, and it was, I mean, at times it was just almost like bullying.
Does it go back again to have to go through the whole rigmarole again? Or does Rishi get him because he came second?
Well, there's
How
this
does it
thing in
work?
there. No, they have to do it again. But what they're looking for now, apparently, and get involved in the chat in the comments, let me know if I'm wrong, because I'm not exactly well up on the machinations of the Tory party. They want a unity candidate, someone who can unite the party. Now, apparently, one of the issues with Rishi, if you can call him that, is some people don't like him because they feel like he stabbed Boris Johnson in the back.
Right.
So he's not the unity candidate. Someone like Penny Mordaunt apparently might be a bit more unifying. Everyone can stomach her. But
That's what you want, isn't it, for a prime minister? Someone that you can stomach. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone you can put up with. But this is how low the bar is now. It's not like are they any good, are they competent? It's can we put up with them? And I think there's one thing that sort of where a few people are harking or hankering for Johnson is that maybe he could win an election.
Do you think we'll get a general election?
I don't, not in the next 18 months or whatever. No, they're not going to risk it, are they?
No, you
They
wouldn't.
get wiped out.
Yeah.
The polls
Do you
are
think-
saying the polls are saying this could be like 1997. Remember now, you're a bit young to remember 1997. You know?
No, I remember it with Tony Blair and
Yeah,
Redeem
he
him
wiped
and
them out
stuff.
almost, didn't it? It was like they went from having a majority to not wiped them out.
Yeah, but I mean, that
a massive majority for Labour.
there was a lot of forces at play there. Obviously, Murdoch was behind Tony Blair.
There was a bit of that. Also, we'd had enough for the Tories.
That been like 19 years in charge, I think. Since
79 to 97, yeah.
well,
And
18
we'd had,
years.
all sorts going on. And Major's government had just fallen apart, back to basics, and, the ERM and everything, Black Wednesday, everything had just gone wrong. And Blair was like, New Labour. You're right, obviously, having Murdoch behind
Yeah.
But I think there was a lot of popular sentiment of we need to get.
But do you
we
think
need
that?
something new?
But
We
when
need
you
to-
when you
even though he
say
let us all down.
when you say that the Tories
rap.
they'd probably get the backside handed to them in a general election, do you think that that's more down to Tories' policies and U-turns or behaviour over the last sort of however long, or Keir Starmer's popularity?
You what? Keir Starmer's what?
Popularity.
You're talking weird. What you on about?
But that's the point.
I don't think Keir Starmer's popular.
But he'd have to be more. He's the better of two
Yeah.
options. No, the better of
The
the
lesser two evils.
that
I'm
one-
not saying he's evil. You might say that. I don't think Keir Starmer's done anything that good. Genuinely.
Yeah.
I don't. And I know people give me stick on Twitter. Jay, why do you always slag off Keir Starmer? And I'll tell you why I always slag off Keir Starmer. Simple reason, right? I don't always slag him off when I criticise him. Tories are gonna Tory. That's what they do.
Yeah.
I would just like Labour to Labour now and again. So I would like them to stick up for things like striking workers and workers' rights and things like that. I would like them to call out Islamophobia when they see it. I would like them to do all those things. And they don't do all those things. And you've seen it now with certain MPs being blocked or certain candidates being blocked from running for no good reason. One of them liked a tweet by Caroline Lucas a few years ago. And that is the sort of thing that people used to complain about Corbyn and Corbynites about. Oh, it's too factional and all this sort of stuff. And I just feel like there hasn't been that unification from Starmer that he promised when he ran.
There seems to be a fear in
He's just
the
shunned the left.
Yeah, there seems to be a fear in the Labour Party that they don't want to have anything that might be deemed extreme views, or they don't want to stand on any hills. Do you know what I mean?
But you need that principle.
I
Yeah,
agree
I know.
with you.
Sorry, bro, I'm not-
But what
I'm
I'm
not
saying
saying
is that taking that standpoint is to their detriment.
I think there is an element of, the Tories have scored 5 own goals, so let's just not do anything and we'll win. And I understand that because I used to think that Starmer had no chance of winning an election, and I'll be honest with you now, I think he can. I'm not saying he's nailed on, but it's very likely he will. There's a lot can happen in the next couple of years, but I think he'd have to screw up.
Given the form guide now
Yeah.
for what's happening at the Tory Party, unless there is somebody in the cabinet that comes forward and is the new messiah to sort of to unify like that thereafter, then you'd expect that Starmer should be a shoo-in for the next election. You'd
and
expect.
The sad thing is, as well, I actually think now would be the time to not radical policies, but to push sort of policies. You could push them forward. I don't know what's happening with proportional representation. That could be something. The nationalisation of certain industries. You know, there was talk, I think, at the Labour Party conference, they're going to do that with maybe the rail and stuff. But I just think, like, you know, there's a lot of these policies actually quite popular. And I think a lot of people looking at what's going on with the energy crisis and everything, saying, you know what, that's not a bad idea. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Me and you were talking earlier about, you know, Truss might be gone by Christmas or whatever. And you were saying about jobs that you'd had.
Yeah, the shortest job that you've ever had.
What's the shortest job you've ever had?
Well, I want to know what the shortest job you've ever had.
Get involved in the
funny
comments.
ones in the comments.
This is just quickly. This is a quite a good comment from Sean Shines. I'd take beige and boring from Starmer rather than the insanity we've been living with from these swats. I get that. I do get it.
Yeah.
I think a bit of beigeness might actually be a welcome antidote to what we've seen.
So someone's strong and stable. Is that what you're saying?
Rather than a coalition of chaos.
Coalition of chaos. Yeah, so what's your shortest duration of a job? I've had several, one being working at my dad's place when I was about 19, 20. My dad's a transport director for a meat company, catering company. And my job was to open bags of meat for 12 hours in a refrigerated room.
You joking?
And like just literally put steaks on a conveyor belt and then move it around.
How did the end of this career come to pass?
I just refused to my dad to go back. I said, I can't go back and do that.
you?
Have you ever worked with blood?
Yeah.
Have you really? Like, it stinks when it's on your hands, that sort of metal smell. I can't be doing this.
No, I've had similar-ish jobs.
So that was a day?
That was a day.
A day.
I think you beat me there, you know. My records are similar to two different jobs. There was one where it was about 3 days. That was at a microwave meal factory in Warrington. And it was through an agency. You used to all get on the bus, the minibus in Ermston, take it down there. And on the third day, me and a load of lads, they were from Pints, and I knew when I was a kid, so I'd moved by this time to Ermston. Anyway, we decided to clock in and then go to Warrington for the day, or the evening. It was like a night shift, get levered. And then we went back to clock out, but we got back too early. So we had like an hour to kill. So we went in the canteen and we got clocked. And then when we went back the next day, on our card that you swipe in with it, I'd wrote on it, sacked, left side. And then we got dragged into the office, and the back manager said to us, like, you're all fired. And then we were like, can we get paid for today? Because we've turned up. He's like, no, you've not done any work.
Have you ever been sacked from a job and been disappointed by it? No. Have you ever been sacked from a job? Sort
of. I've got sacked.
Well, as well as that example, like, but I mean, for any of them.
I must have been. I can't think of one. I can think of ones where I've just left and not gone back. Like, I did one I was telling you about. It was LBM, I think it was called, in Broadheath near Altrincham. And it was telesales. Literally, there was a time in the 90s and early 90s where everyone worked there. Everyone I knew had a job there. Because you could literally just go to an agency and go, I need a job. And they'll go, we've got telesales. And it was like, I think it was O2 or something. And you had like 2 days of training, and then they put you on the phone.
It's easy work, and
it's just, you know, I am calling from O2, thought of an upgrade, all that sort of nonsense. But I started on a Monday, and on the Friday, I went Creamfields, and my mate ran me and said, we're going to Turkey on Monday, and we've got a spare place on the plane, accommodations sorted and all that. Do you want to come with us? So, I didn't quit. I just never went back to the job.
I mean, who turns that down?
Exactly. Especially when I think I was 20 at the time.
And you just know when you get back, there will be more time.
Yeah, and I think actually I went back to the agency and they said, we can get you back in there if you want.
I was working at this advertising agency and it was doing literature for medical companies. So I think I've mentioned this in the podcast before about, like, I used to have to write manuals for erectile dysfunction and fucking like psoriasis. That was my gig, like day in, day out. So you can imagine how much I love.
Because they looked at your CV and you'd put on your CV, I'm an expert on these things.
No. So you can imagine how much fun it was for me having to go day in, day out to look at slides and having to write content for fucking for like illustrations of floppy willies. Do you know? So that was my job, and then like so yeah, it was either like erectile dysfunction or flaky skin. So it was really like Hollywood, like writing, you know.
Yeah.
And as an aspiring writer was my first job at university, so I fucking hated it.
How long did you last do this?
I was doing it for 2 years. So but the company got bought out by an American company,
right?
And then as what happens with mergers or whatever, like they get rid of a lot of the old staff and they bring their own people in. So we knew that there was redundancies coming round. And you're just seeing people get dragged into the office and people who really loved the jobs and they were coming out crying and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. And then the guy who was my boss, Carl, got on really well with him, local lad, you know what I mean? With salt of the earth type, we really got on. And he sat me down and then he said, I'm really, really sorry. And he was close to tears because he didn't want to lay me off.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a horrible thing to do. Oh, no, nobody wants that job. And he goes, why are you smiling? I said, because you're going to lay me off, aren't you? He goes, yeah, but you're not supposed to be happy about it. He says, I fucking hate this job. How much you paying me?
Really?
Yeah. He goes, I seen him a few years later. He goes, I couldn't believe it would be laid off like maybe 60 people over 2 days. And you were the only one who danced out the building. No more floppy willy illustrations.
Did you get a payoff?
Yeah, I got a payoff, man.
Did you?
Yeah, it's decent as well. So I got to see me right for.
What happened when me and you used to work together? Did you just quit? Did you do what I did?
I quit, so we went Merkin and Malia together.
Yeah.
And then I went back after the summer.
Right.
Because that's how easy it was. Instead
Just
like,
like,
yeah,
get my job back,
yeah, got my
right,
job
yeah.
back. And then I went back. And there'd been like a new cohort of people who come in, so the
Right.
vibe wasn't the same as it
Oh,
was.
was it
previously.
not?
You wasn't there.
Oh, thanks.
You know, it
Thanks,
wasn't,
brother.
It was. That's what
Yeah.
we. No, me and you sort of made that place, and then
It was such a doss, that.
I say made.
Oh, we got maybe that.
Yeah.
It was a joke.
Some funny stories there about when we used to get high during lunch, and I said I was having like a diabetic attack, and the woman went like this. The woman said, "Do you remember Jean?"
I can't.
So Jean was this lovely, lovely lady, but I'd just been blazing at lunch in the car park, and I'd gone back in. I'd got on a white hair, so I'm going proper under here. I went back in and she goes, "You're as white as a ghost." I said, "I know." I said, "It's my diabetes." I said, "I'm feeling it like." Because I didn't know you had diabetes. You didn't
Neither did I.
Because you didn't put it on the form in your HR. I said, I get embarrassed by it a bit, so I don't really want to like. Don't want to tell that people. She goes, what do you need? I said, I just need to lie down. So she goes, all right, well, there's no meetings on. Go into the meeting room and then lie down. So I've crawled into the meeting room. By this time, crawling because I'm fucking going well west.
Yeah.
Crawled in the meeting room. She goes, what do you need? I said, like sugary stuff. I said, like if you can get me Coke and chocolates and munchies. She's literally gone to the vending machine, brought me a shitload of Pringles and Maltesers and Coke. And I've just like lay there under there for like 3 hours, just high as a kite.
It's no wonder they moved that.
And I still didn't get sacked. I must have been. I mean, I'd obviously not done that sort of stuff for years, but you'd think you'd smell the weed. Unless you just sat in a car blazing like fucking Cypress Hill.
It was weird though. They didn't seem to care.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Bums on seats.
Yeah, bums on seats. You just answer the phone now and again, and you'll be all right. Do you know what I mean? And we barely did that when we were there. I answered the phone about twice a day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you remember that time when we were just dicking around, and then the boss turned around, wasn't like, "Don't you sit down there laughing?" And I'm like, "I've got loads of work. I've got loads of work to do up here." And I turned around to him and I'm like, "Yeah, well, you get paid more than us, dickhead." So
you're getting all upset once.
Yeah, you want the
She's like,
responsibility.
it's unfair. You're messing about. And you went, "Yeah, you get paid more than I do, dickhead." And I was like, creasing. And I thought, how is this a job? How are we getting away with that? But yeah, it was 2 weeks in advance, wasn't it? 2 weeks in arrears.
Yeah,
So that's why we quit 2 weeks in advance when we got our
as you
wages.
would.
Yeah.
We've had some more on there now, but some funny ones.
There's a guy where Joe, my mate, worked at a pizza place at 17. He got sacked because he was walking home pissed, had the keys to get in the shop, and just made himself pizzas. Got sacked the next day.
I love that.
Mate, that is class. Red UK says, worked as security in an abattoir. I opened the gates and let them free. Kieran Grant says, at 17, I had a job working for nightclub washing dishes. Oh, I've done that. Not at a hotel washing dishes.
Washing dishes.
Oh, I got sacked from that, actually. I forgot. I got sacked for wagging work. And they rang up my house to ask me about a shift. And my mum said, oh, he's in bed. And they just knew I'd gone out. Because it was an evening thing. And I got sacked. At 17, I had a job working for nightclub washing dishes. Worst thing ever. Watching people get drunk. Finished after first shift ending. James Young, what jobs have you had? Come on.
To be honest, I've only really it sounds very relatable, this, but outside of journalism work, I've only done a paper round.
Really?
Did you leave that?
I did, only because I was reaching a point in my life where I didn't quite fancy getting up at 6 o'clock every morning to earn £2.50 an hour.
Yeah.
Did you not dump?
Well, to be fair,
I used to hate getting the Sunday round. The heavy papers I used to.
Yeah.
I refused to deliver the Sun.
Good lad.
I just used to leave it outside so it got really wet, and the person that picks it up is just like soaking
Little
it.
victories, isn't it?
Yeah.
The little things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's a war of attrition against the Murdoch Empire.
All doing our bit.
Yeah, you got to do your bit, like literally. It all adds up. Now I respect that. How old are you?
19.
19. Just think about it. Most of my sort of
It was around
like
that
there
time.
was around 19 when I started getting loads of different jobs. 'Cause I worked for the benefits agency for a couple of years. I worked at Asda for a few years when I was at school and trying to give college a go. First time around.
Well, I've got your old job, technically.
Why?
Selling fanzines.
Oh yeah, I sold
Yeah,
fanzines when I was a
yeah.
kid as well. Yeah, he does that.
How
as
many
well.
jobs do you reckon you've had? If you could hazard a guess.
It's a few in it. I reckon at least 15.
I've had more. At last count, I've had more jobs than years on the planet.
What?
Seriously.
Shut up.
Seriously. Honestly, like
How old are you?
I'm 41.
You've had 41 jobs.
Well,
up.
more than 41.
Really?
Jobs, yeah. Just because I think I've got like ADHD. The boredom just gets me.
Really?
Yeah, like I've worked in. I've been a chef, done DJing, advertising writer, call centers. I was a bouncer for fucking half a shift. I know. Yeah.
What? What? Hang on a minute. You were a doorman?
At Crash.
At a crash. Listen,
I was joking as if I was just to see your face there.
imagine. Well, I'd love to see that when you turned up for your shift. And they were like, what the fuck are you on about? He's 5'4".
I am not 5'4", you
What are
cheeky
you?
bastard.
5'8".
5'1".
5'1". Right.
No,
sorry,
I'm not 5'1". Lots of, I've had like a lot of different jobs. Definitely more than 41 jobs.
That's amazing, that. 'Cause, no,
I used to do like pick and mix, you know, when you put your CV together, depending on what
yeah.
Like,
I used to do that. The thing is, like, back in the day, and I don't know, get involved in the chat in the comments.
Read that guy's comment. That is min.
Which one?
Wilson.
Sorry.
Worked at a Subway at 16, 5 years ago, and left the proof run overnight. Where is it?
There.
Where?
Insurers covered it, but the building went down. He set fire to the Subway at 16.
That is mint, that. 5 years ago.
Oh, can you imagine walking
Oh
away
my
with
God,
fucking meatball
Wilson.
marinara like Denzel Washington into the night?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank you. Joe Tomlin says, all well and good getting sacked for blazing up, but have you ever smoked a spliff with the Chamber of Commerce of your city?
No, I don't
No.
think.
I've interviewed the Chamber of Commerce. a few times.
I have done a pill at the House of Parliament, though. That was where I first did an ecstasy pill.
At the House of Parliament?
Not the real one, but the one at Granada
Did ya?
Studios. Yeah, absolutely flying off my tits, raving in the Houses of Parliament, and then went to the Rovers. I didn't even know it was pilling. My mate dropped it in, and then like,
Well, shut up.
I didn't
Really?
My first pill. I didn't have any idea at all.
Your mate just slips it in your drink?
Yeah,
What a
did.
wedge.
I know, a wedding.
Really? At a
Yeah,
wedding?
yeah.
What, he's at the fucking Granada Studios at a wedding?
Because I know people.
Right,
So it
okay.
was a big way. It was like, I think it was one of the last nights at Granada Studios, and they basically hired out the whole of Granada Studios.
That's a decent
Fucking,
venue,
there was
that's to have your wedding.
2,000 people were there, like DJs or bands in different rooms
Right.
and stuff. So I think it was in the Rovers, because you could drink back in the Rovers Return back in when they opened it all up. And I started getting sweaty. I turned around to him and I said, "Be all right, me, man, coming down with something." And he's sniggering away there, like. And then he start getting rushes. I'm like, something's not right. And I done LSD, and I thought, fucking, I know what getting high is like. I think some fucker's done put a pill in my pad. I turned around easy and stitches. Like, you fucking wanker! My mum and dad were there.
We told him you loved him.
Oh man,
Hey,
next
don't get
we
him.
were raving in like the House of the Parliament that was there, but used for filming and stuff.
Yeah, I went on the Granada, so I didn't take a pill. I was only a kid. We went there with school. It used to be mint, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the House of Commons, like New York Street and all that. and
It
the
was
Rovers.
like Universal Studios if it was sold on Wish.
It was, wasn't it? It was proper like budget, yeah.
Yeah.
It stunk of like, Manchester's version of Universal Studios. Talk, you big fan of Talk, says, afternoon, gents. Liz Truss's dad lives next door to my mother-in-law. Lol. Harry Lakin says, Scotty was a chef. The Mank Bourdain right there.
Well, not quite.
Where were you as chef?
Anthony Bourdain was on crack or heroin when he was chefing. I've never been down that road.
Have you not?
No.
Fucking not lived you.
Where were you as chef?
That was like the limit. Like I didn't like. That was yeah. I don't think like that was the one. I think probably the one. Yeah, I think it's opium's heroin, is it?
Yeah,
well,
it's kind of the same.
maybe I
family,
have.
innit?
I had something in Goa once when I lived in India.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm smoking something there. I'm pretty sure that was opium.
Well,
It was
you never
good.
know, do
I
you?
was, but I proper.
Might have done.
It was peace, man. Proper
Was it?
peace. Yeah, like just
Proper chill and
yeah,
that.
proper. It wasn't like weed.
Yeah.
So, and he goes, yeah, they were all passing this fucking pipe around and like.
And you just thought, when in Rome,
Why
rude.
not? Yeah,
you
no,
don't want to
yeah.
be rude, do you, to your hosts?
No.
Do you know what I mean? So I smoked smack with him.
I don't think it was smack or crack. You know when you say opium, it sounds a little bit more exotic.
I smoked opium, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, look like a bit
like
of
a
opium.
Victorian
Yeah,
writer.
he's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
You say you smoke crack, you're fucking renting.
yeah. I was on the smack as I was nicking car stereos on the streets of Edinburgh.
No, but when you're
Or
in
I was
India, it's opium on the beach.
Smoking opium, as I wrote the second chapter of Hound of the Baskervilles.
Yeah.
Archie Sanderson says, got sacked at 16 from being a kitchen porter because they caught me on CCTV eating the food from the kitchen whenever the chefs left the kitchen. Harsh, if you ask me. I remember when I used to work at Asda, and everyone was up to all sorts of that. People were just eating cakes in the bakery and, you know, whoop stickers on everything. And
Food places are bad though for like what people do.
honestly, yeah, it was all sorts going on there. I remember my mate got sacked as well. He got caught eating cakes. And he took me in, God knows what he was thinking. He took me in with his for his disciplinary, and that's how he got sacked. That was his rep.
What did you grassing him, snitch?
No.
Yeah.
As a sort of
Going with all the crumbs.
Yeah, he went arsehole because he got to pay out. Like, they give him some money, but he was banked to that, and his story kind of contradicted itself.
I used to when I used to work at JD Sports, they used to always be on the rob there, like they wear tracky bottoms under the clothes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they used to do that quite a lot.
I mean, they say there's no victimless crime, but there isn't though. Do you know? What I mean?
Yeah, I can't imagine that. I mean, I don't know.
Like, you know what I mean? It's perks of the job, innit? Nicking things when you work somewhere.
It's over 20 years ago anyway.
There's a statute of limitations.
Did either of you ever get close to joining the forces like Steve?
No.
I'd tell you,
absolutely
no, not a chance. I went to the cadets once. So
Did you?
Actually,
I went for the test for the RAF. I was going to join the RAF, but I think I was out of my head when I went there. I'd been out up all weekend.
Yeah.
But I passed the test. The problem was I was underweight. Because I know James Young's laughing. For your height, you have to weigh a certain amount.
You didn't weigh enough. You were quite skinny
comment.
back in the day, weren't you?
Yeah, and this was when I was banging the raving days. So yeah, it was. It didn't happen. Santa Not says also made canopies for an event Amiri organised. He's been doing all sorts here. Ben Sorville says a mate of mine got sacked from a door factory because he fell over and smashed a load of doors. And when everyone laughed at him, he went mad and smashed a load more on purpose.
Going around like Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
This is fucking funny, yeah? I'll give you something to laugh at. Hey, I love that. Get involved.
Whoa, hang on a minute.
Go
Read that fucking comment there. Jesus.
Who's it by?
The last one.
We had
Liam Sheezer.
We had free sack from Asda for having a threesome in the boiler room. They'd even managed to get a chair up there without being seen by CCTV security.
He worked out. There was no threesomes going on when I was there in the boiler room. Bloody hell, it's all happening there, isn't it?
That's not the room you'd have a threesome in, is it?
The
bit
boiler
warm.
room. Bit warm, innit?
Yeah, and you could burn your ass on a lot.
I know, but I mean, maybe it's needs must, innit? Like, where's the safest place we can go for this threesome?
No, I mean, how horny are you? Like, you're at work and you're saying, you know what I want to do now is a threesome, and you're all running around like fucking Benny Hill. You're looking for something. I know, we'll go boiler room. Go home.
It's better than the freezer, I guess.
Yeah, and like when I worked at Asda, it was just full of fucking people who didn't give a shit. Like, you're either dead young, or you're at that stage in life where it's just, you know, I'm just gonna do this job because
You've give up.
Yeah, I'm not asked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There was very few people I worked with when I worked at Asda who were like motivated. Do you know what I mean? As soon as you got on shift, the aim was just to skive as much as you could. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was like, you know, the game that you'd play. How little can we do today? But yeah, so threesomes and all that. Tim Collins says best rave you can remember.
I was talking about this the other day. Do you remember Club Kinetic?
In Stoke. Yeah.
I can't remember.
I never went though. I remember. I never went.
No, it was great to go there and stuff. But if you missed the bus back, you were fucked because Stoke was a mile away, wasn't it?
What was it like? Was it all right?
Yeah, it was good, man. 'Cause I was big into drum and bass and jungle scene, so for that music particularly, I used to go
Nice,
quite a bit.
drum and bass.
But you were probably more into the raving scene. When only raves I went with probably Garage Nation and that, but that was more down in London.
Did you not go bowlers, you? Life.
It was it was never really my sort of scene. I was never really big into house music.
And I think as well, I sort of got the back end of it. I know there's only 2 years between us. How old are you?
41.
Well, there's not even that.
No.
You would have been right, old enough for it. But I remember going to bowlers when I was about 16, 17, and I was obsessed with it after that. I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
I used to wake up on a Monday morning thinking about bowlers on a Saturday night. And it was mint for ages. But then they started serving beer there, It's kind of changed the dynamics. Then you get a load of lads turning up 11 and kicking off and all that shit. But it was mint. I loved it, and it was only down the road for like Trafford Park, and we used to go out afterwards and go back to someone's house. It was a fucking mint laugh. But I always felt like the Raving scene was probably at its peak just before
us.
Like the mid-90s was probably, or the early 90s, mid-90s was
Yeah.
probably peak raving, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then late 90s when we started going, it was still mint for a spell, but
that
it
felt
was
more
on
like
decline.
I think we sort of entered drinking around when binge drinking culture began. I think that was probably our generation more so than
We did binge drinking.
Yeah, we're proper big into the binge drinking, and I was on Saturday.
You were out partying, you two together, weren't you?
We were, yeah.
No, it wasn't out
All right.
partying.
Sorry.
We had like a friendly drink. We're not going to mention anything live on air about what James Young might have done.
Go on, Young. What were you doing? He's a little bit of a live wire, isn't he, James Young?
Every week I get stories or videos.
I like the fact that
WhatsApp.
James Young, right? He's one of them, and I used to be a bit like this when I was his age. You could drop James Young in the middle of the fucking Sahara Desert, and he'll make friends and end up on it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He'll like, I bumped into him in Australia, and he had a fucking firm with him, little fucking load of mates that he made, and out on the piss with him.
He nearly got stabbed at the weekend. Should we get James?
James nearly got, I don't like this is taking a turn. I don't know why you're smiling. He's like, fucking hell, it's got a bit dark. I mean, I'm all for these like funny stories, but him getting stabbed to death isn't quite the hilarious anecdote we was expecting.
No, I was just in McDonald's, right, and I was fucking pissed, and took another guy's order, right. It wasn't mine. I was walking back to my flat. Probably about 10 minutes back to my flat from where McDonald's is, right?
Yeah.
I've got my headphones in. I'm just fucking like off. I'm walking back, and I hear this guy shouting, and he's like, "Oh, you've got my order!" He's like, properly shouting, and I'm like, "What the fuck? What does he want?" Turn around, and he's like, "You've got my order," and then he pulls a knife out, and I'm like, "Shit!" So I've got like 2 meters head start on him, so I just start running. So I'm like, "Oh, if I go back, then I'm fucked." So I just kept on running, and he didn't catch up.
What order did he have? That enraged him that much he was going to stab you.
It was a wrap of the day and a medium fries.
That's not
he's a
worth.
fucking
That's not worth trying to fucking
Stabbing
go, man.
people, for starters, is just dickhead behaviour. Do you know what I mean? Let's have it right for any reason. Like, but certainly for bloody McDonald's.
But the thing is as well, right, they would have made it for him again. So he ran all the way to my flat to chase me when he could have just said, "Someone's taking my order," and then they would have made it for him.
You see, do you know what I like about that there with him?
What?
He's still young enough to be honest, isn't he? So if me and you tell that story, some geezers pulled a knife on us in McDonald's, right? So I've just fucking one-arrowed him, right? Dropped him, do you know what I mean? And then walked off.
Yeah.
That's how you tell that, innit? Do you know
You
what I mean?
always leave the hero.
Yeah. He's pulled out a machete.
No, but it wasn't in McDonald's. I had a head start on him. I was 2 meters ahead of him. So if anything, I am the hero because I beat him.
You beat.
all right. Usain Bolt, calm down.
We do have extra content we're doing as well. We do this every week. This podcast. It's late this week because someone was, seeing the family.
It was my dad's birthday, man.
I know.
I would have preferred to be with you.
Don't say that. Do you know what I mean? We have to get your dad on this podcast. You and your dad together are hilarious. You are comedy gold, you two. You did a Q&A once, a World Cup thing, and I don't think I've ever laughed as much.
Was that Brian
Fucking
McClure?
Brilliant, yeah. And your dad went, "I've heard rumours that United could be in for," and you went, "You've not heard any fucking rumours. You've just been listening to Talk Sport."
Yeah. And this is my dad wasn't involved in the chat. He was shouting from the side, and I'm trying to interview Brian McClure.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, we'll get him on.
Usually on a Monday we do this live, but we're doing it on a Wednesday today because Scotty wasn't about Monday. We'll get another video coming out, an extra video coming out tomorrow on our Patreon. It's only £2 a month for the Patreon. We're not gonna, pull anyone's pants down. There's a link in the description. Go and check it out. We also write articles on there as well. And we will be doing other videos on here too. So you're getting a little bit extra there. £2 a month. I know times are hard, but we've upped our production.
Yeah. And
we have to pay lecky bills.
Yeah,
and all that now.
that's it. We're not doing it for any sort of financial gain.
We're
It's
not
just
getting,
basically it's to
£2 a month
cover our
ain't
own
getting us
costs
anything.
and justify to our children why we aren't at the Parents' Day school race this week.
There's a link in the chat there. Ryan Belmont says we need James Young versus Ethan James night out vlog.
I think we should definitely out what James said before about Ethan on.
What did he say?
He said that
He started troubling with Sloppy Jones.
Yeah, he said he's sharper than Ethan. I don't know if he meant dressed or.
What did you mean when you said
wittier.
you're sharper than Ethan?
No, just said I don't know. It's just
Don't you dare.
No.
Get from under that rock.
No. If we went on Mastermind, I'd do better.
I mean,
On what
I
topic?
think
That's
he
quite a
would,
wide
actually.
one.
He's quite. I don't know. Ethan's quite similar to him. If anyone don't know what I'm about, Ethan James works with us on Stretford Paddock, and he also does Sloppy Joes. And sometimes I stand in for him on Sloppy Joes. They've got go and check out Sloppy Joes, by the way. They've got a live show coming up, which I'm looking forward to. I don't know. He's a bit of a weird one, Ethan, because he's got like some sort of niche knowledge. Do you know what I mean? And he's not. He's got this sort of oafish charm, but he's not thick.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's a bit sort of dozy. Whereas you've read quite a lot on all sorts of subjects. So I don't know, it'd be an interesting one now.
What would be your mastermind subject? What would be the one subject that you think you know more about if you had to sit in the big chair?
It's a very good question, that. I remember watching it once and someone had United from like 80 to 99 or something. And I got all the questions right.
That's 2 decades, man.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, I'm not saying I'm the expert on that. My memory's shocking. I don't know. I think, man... It's a good question.
Someone did one Blackburn Rovers season, and
One Blackburn Rovers
far
season?
too specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very specific, isn't it? Was it the season they won the Premier League by any chance?
It was the following season.
Oh God. I'd go. I don't know. Maybe it might be United based because that's what I do for a job as well, isn't it? So I've probably got more knowledge around that, and also my hobby, so it ticks both boxes. And I think with films or my other things that I like if I did films, you'd have to pick someone, wouldn't you? So say you pick like the films of Tom Hanks. There's going to be a few you've not seen.
Yeah, and then when they do the
like.
films as well, it's sometimes about the writers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I would say mine would probably be The Godfather,
Right.
I think, or maybe The Wire.
See, The Wire is quite hard though, isn't it? Because
It's quite wide ranging.
yeah, and in season 3,
Yeah,
who
true.
played the character?
Yeah,
of
you
such
have to
and
be
such?
really niche, like William Prunier's games for Manchester United.
Yeah,
Do you know,
yeah,
do you know,
yeah.
really narrow it down.
Yeah, so I think the more sort of specific you are, the better, obviously. But then they can't. I mean, I'm amazed they let Matey have the one season in Blackburn. Because
Yeah.
that United one, I'm sure it was like 1980 to 2000 or 99 or something. It
You
was
know what we
quite
should do is we'll do a mastermind off against each other. So you'll pick a topic and I'll pick 10 questions.
No.
Oh,
James
James
will pick the questions, right? Because
Yeah.
he loves all that. We'll do it next week. Yeah?
Okay.
Mastermind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and you, right? Okay. James, if you used to do Mastermind, what would be your specialist subject?
Again, probably so. I'd say if that Blackburn guy can have one Blackburn Rovers season, then I'm having United's 12-13 title winning campaign.
I think that's fair. I think, yeah, if he can do it, why can't you? I think you'd smash that as well. Actually, Sanderson, I think he's asked this question a couple of times. Says, here's a question for yous. If Liz Truss and Slippy G swap jobs, who performs the best in their new role even? Sorry, get my words out.
How do you reckon Stephen Gerrard, head of the Tory party, will go down in Liverpool?
Yeah, he'd be doomed, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that'd go down very well.
I'd-
Saying that, Cerise Coffee's a massive star.
Yeah, I mean, and give Liz Truss her dues. I think if she was in charge of that Villa team, she's quite happy to admit she's made mistakes and change tact.
Yeah.
You know, whereas I think Stephen Gerrard seems quite an adamant chap and like my way or the highway.
Do you think he's going to go, Gerrard? Do you think he's on borrowed time?
Yeah.
Talk of Pochettino going in there, isn't there? Yeah. I think we're running out of time now. I'm getting the curly finger.
We're running out of time as well.
Yeah.
All right, the big question, who lasts longer, Stephen Gerrard or Liz Truss? Who do you think?
I'm going to go Truss lasts longer.
And Stephen Gerrard. Who Villa got next?
They've got a game, haven't they, coming up?
Got United fairly soon.
Well, that'll probably bloody give him a boost. So they've got Fulham away tomorrow. They've got Fulham away and then they've got Brentford at home.
Oh, I don't know, then.
So if he wins both of them, he's laughing. But if he doesn't, then he's in trouble.
Yeah,
because
the
they're
vultures
winnable games.
seem to be circling around them both. Well, thank you everybody who's watched today. If you can make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe button before you get off, and maybe share the podcast amongst your social media friends. As Jay said earlier on, we have got a Patreon site. It's only £2 a month if you want to sign up for that. We are going to be doing another show right off the back of this. Next week we shall return for James Young's Mastermind Challenge, which should be quite
James
interesting.
Young's Mastermind Challenge.
We'll
If
get
that
him a
don't get you
chair
going,
to
I
sit
don't
in the
know what
middle. We'll get him like a chair to sit in the middle.
will. You know
We'll
what?
actually
You
let
watch
you on
him though when
screen.
he's got a bit of authority. I can see him being a right little taskmaster.
What, when he's got authority?
Yeah.
He's a pain in the ass at the best of times. Right, I've been Scotty. That's been Motty. We shall see you next week. Thanks everybody who's been watching.